circular design when it comes to to reaching circular goals. But yes, very interesting. I'm sure there is a recording. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think there will be a recording available at the end of the conference if you are all interested. I think it's almost time. We could perhaps start already, if that's okay. I do see some participants, but yeah, I would like to go ahead and start. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, wherever you are joining us from. My name is Keita Hamada, and
I am with the Laker. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm with the Laker.
Yeah, from Holland Circular Hotspot, and today we will be moderating this session. Please do keep in mind that this session is being recorded, and it will be also put up in our website for future uses. We are today joined by four guests, sorry. Timo Bottema from Closing the Loop, Bert and Leah from Mud Jeans, and Casper van der Meer from Better Future Factory. I would like to start by giving the floor to Timo to sort of introduce yourself, also a little bit about your company, maybe 2 minutes maximum introduction. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can do that. So thanks, Keita, for the kind introduction. Yeah, so my name is Timo. I work for a company called Closing the Loop. Yeah, I thought it was interesting what you mentioned earlier, that Ellen MacArthur thinks we should focus more on the design phase of the circular economy, and I don't disagree, but we happen to be working on the other end of the circular economy. Basically, very shortly, what Closing Loop does, we recycle e-waste in countries where that would not be done properly without our help. And we do that through a concept of waste compensation, which is essentially a financing mechanism for companies, for organizations to join our efforts. The concept is very simple. Let's say an organization buys a phone. They're very happy with that, but they want to make it even more green or more sustainable or more circular. We can then recycle one phone from an African country where we're active in, from the emerging markets, and we make sure that that gets properly recycled. And the fee that the client pays us funds that, essentially, basically making the device of our clients waste neutral. So that's the shortest version I can give you.
Thank you very much, Timo. Yeah, I would like to next move on to Bert and Leah.
Good afternoon. My name is Bert van Son. I'm the founder of Mud Jeans. We started 10 years ago, the first and only circular denim brand in the world, and we still are, which is very sad to say. We make new jeans from old jeans. To keep it very simple, we shred old jeans into new yarn. We still have to mix some new organic cotton, but we can go up to 40% today. So 40% of all jeans are used in new jeans, and then in the whole chain we try to use as less as possible dirty chemicals, treat the people in a normal way, don't do it as far as closer to home that we can. And we're getting better at it every year. We're growing fast. So apparently there's a demand for this kind of thing. And the best thing we started was in 2013 with Lisa Jeans, where the thought behind it is, do you have to be the owner of something, or is the performance of a product good enough? That's the broader idea, and that still works today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's the elevator pitch.
That was quite inspirational, and we hope after this discussion maybe some people join the revolution of circular denim and join you as a new company.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
And let's now give the floor to maybe a short introduction by Leah as well. She's the younger generation of Mud Jeans present here, and Bert is young at heart with us.
She's the best.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Leah. I'm the CSR officer at Mudjeans that Bert has just introduced. And yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Leah. Now we give the floor to Casper from Better Future Factory.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Casper, one of the founders of Better Future Factory. We are a design and engineering studio based in Rotterdam, and we're focused on plastics. We help our brands and organizations or clients switch to sustainable plastics and really make them front runners on this topic. If you look at the kind of project that we do, it's either going from waste to a new product, also optimizing existing products. So there we do a lot of work, for example, in packaging, optimizing that for a circular economy. We're now about 10 years old, so also with the experience that we have, we also move slightly more now to strategic advice, but really from a pragmatic point of view. So not just writing a report that ends up in some desk drawer, but really something that we can implement with our clients. And also from the perspective that we are not always cleaning up at the end, but we can make the right decisions at the front. If you look at our team, on one hand, there's definitely an idealistic motivation. It's already a name, Better Future Factory. On the other hand, it's also our engineering curiosity in the material plastic. It's a super interesting material. You can work with it in so many ways. But at the same time, it also comes with a responsibility, and that's what drives us as a company. Nowadays, we work for companies all over the world, big and small. We work for Lego, IKEA, Unilever, but also small startups that just started working with plastic and want to know, okay, how can we do this in the best possible way? And we are based in Blue City, Rotterdam. It's a perfect environment if you talk about sustainability, really inspiring. So I invite you all to someday have a visit at Blue City.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that building. It's the perfect representation of repurposing. And there are so many circular startups. There's our colleague Diana de Graaf is there, and we also have a flex desk from Haseha side, and I love working in that building. And
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for this nice introduction of your company and yourself. And I will now give the floor to Keita. He will take it forward from here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for the nice introduction. I would, however, like to sort of do a little bit of the ice-breaking question and sort of warm up the stage, the virtual stage. So we will be asking four questions in total with my colleague Uday. And the first question is, who is your favorite public figure in the world? And what will happen if you find out that they're not circular enough in their lives? So I would like to have Timo at first answer this question.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't do too well with idols or something. So I don't think I can really name a person. And I'm regarding the second part of your question, I try to be circular or sustainable in my private life, but I'm really the last person that would blame anyone for not being sustainable, as I think that's very counterproductive. Yeah, I think it's just a reality that most people are not there yet. Let's help them become more sustainable. That'd be my answer.
That's great. So you want to sort of lead by showing and not by really forcing or telling someone what to do.
Yeah, well, forcing or telling is just never the way to make people change. And that's not just for sustainability. That's, I think, in every change process within companies or other types of organizations, you'll encounter lots of pushback if you want to enforce change on people. So that's, for me, that's a no-go. And I also think it's a mistake that a lot of organizations are making. We talk too much, sustainability companies talk too much about we have to, or we should do this, or we have to save the world. That it's not, it's true. It's very true. Don't get me wrong. But that's not the type of rhetoric that will resonate with 95% of the people on the planet.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing that nice answer. I would like to ask the same question to Bert. If you had any inspiring public figure when you started the company, or still do still to this day.
Yeah, that's my 92-year-old mother, who still today repairs my clothing. Normally I wear sweaters with patches here, today not, which is a miracle. But I think no, to be more serious, I think the elder generation before us understood what reuse and repair and be careful and be was, because they knew scarcity, I think, scarcity. So we've lost all that and we have to find it back again. That's all. And it's very simple, I think. Buy less, buy better. We don't need so many clothes. I always say that if we stop all the clothing industry today, every industry in the world, nobody will walk naked on the street in 10 years' time. There's enough clothing.
That's quite true. Just to butt in, sorry, I remembered some instances from my childhood and also stories from my parents and my grandparents, that they used to pass down clothes from generation to generation, and they used to be in the family for a long time, and there was a little sharing economy in communities, and from my perspective in India. So I totally resonate with your answer.
I used to wear these jeans where my mother would put an extra ring under because I was growing a little bit. Yeah.
Amazing.
Great stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
A personal story. Thank you. Leah, if you have any, same question to you.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's no surprise, but I think a really inspirational public figure to me is Greta Thunberg. I think that she has really started this whole movement from the ground up and has been so inspirational, especially for the younger generation. And everything that has come from her work has been really incredibly valuable. And to your question, what would I do when I found out she doesn't really live a circular life? I would be, I would be quite surprised, to be honest. But I would probably be quite disappointed. I think try to reach out and see where that comes from. But I would have to say I would be surprised.
Yeah, thank you very much. I can imagine if the whole world will say, oh yeah, she's just a public stunt if they find out that if she is not a circular person. But I hardly doubt that is the case. But, moving on to Casper.
Yeah, I'm always a bit hesitant with this like sort of hero she'd pick. For me, it's more in the small scale initiatives where the local heroes are. I think that really have the courage to start something, and more like grassroots initiatives that pop up. Could even be as small that people start cleaning their neighborhood or do these beach cleanups or these kind of things. That's for me where I get a lot of inspiration. It's not necessarily the Elon Musks or these kind of people in the world.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. But maybe a mentor in your personal life, just a thought that you were inspired from, or someone who spurred you into action.
For me, well, I mean, in the end, how I sort of came in touch with sustainability, but it's not a public figure, but it's a university professor that sort of sparked my really sort of curiosity in circularity. That's sort of what made me think, okay, a linear system doesn't really exist. But in the end, that was a university professor that really sparked my curiosity in the whole sustainability topic. So I still thank her for that up to today.
Wow, that's quite inspirational. Not to toot my own horn, but it was the same for me as well. There was a university professor in my bachelor's that spurred this. Well, I am not an entrepreneur yet, but I am working towards it. And we have our inspirational director from Holland Circular Hotspot joining us right now. I would just like to mention that as well. Welcome, Freek. Welcome to the session. Hi.
Hi there, good to be here, Uday. I was struggling finding the right button with all the screens and chats popping up. I was trying to lure some more people into our session, making the link with the main platform. Good to be here with you. I missed the beginning, but carry on. I will contribute as you go on.
All right. I see we have a lot of people coming in, and I want to welcome them and say that we are just starting and breaking the ice before we move on to our main theme. Just a couple of more questions from this. Now, I would like to ask Timo. So reflecting on your personal ambitions a little bit, how do you see the year 2022 for both your professional and your personal development?
Well, I thought it was quite funny that both Bert and Casper both mentioned that their companies are about 10 years old. And the funny thing is that our company is also 10 years old. So apparently 10 years is a good lifespan to get your company to where it is now. For us, if you look at closing the loop, the first couple of years, they were obviously quite challenging because what we do is completely new in the world. No one else is doing it at the moment. As Bert also mentioned on circular jeans, we'd love to welcome some competition in our field because we think that could be incredibly valuable to the industry. So if there's anyone out there wanting to do the same thing, please do. For us, it's now we've got to a certain maturity level. It's all about scaling. So we've set up the process. We set up the operations. We're good to go on scaling our offer towards clients. And luckily, the industry, so both the tech industry, but also its consumers, are really picking up on what we do and are resonating. The story resonates well with them, and they see the value in what we do. And for us, we think 2022 is going to be an immense growth year where we should at least double our the impact, but also the business that we make.
Wow, that's amazing, and we wish you all the best with that.
Thanks.
That quest as well. Moving on to Bert.
Yes.
Yes, so the same question for you as well, that how do you see the year 2022 for both your professional and your personal development?
Well, that's since last week a difficult question, I'm afraid. But okay, maybe we should not talk about that here now. But professionally for us, it's again a year where we are going to double our turnover. We are growing fast. Apparently what we do does give people hope. We've seen in COVID times that our company has grown very fast, which is strange in the textile company. Growth is a dirty word. We would like to sell less, but if we sell more jeans, we hope that dirty jeans will be sold less anyhow. We work together with some fantastic companies. To give a few, like Just Dig It. We're growing numbers of jeans coming back. We dig holes in Africa and plant trees, those kind of things. We will be working on our transparency, which is very important in the textile industry, to be totally transparent. We've written our LCA really on that. You can see everything we do, where we do, what we do, and how we do it. We will continue to build on our B Corp score, which we find important because it's one of the only ways to really stand out and show what we do. It's going to be harder and harder today because every garment industry, textile brand is saying today that it's very sustainable. When we started 10 years ago, our problem was we didn't have any money, we couldn't make any noise. Today, our problem is a lot of companies around us make noise and tell a lot of bullshit and a lot of lies. And we have to counter that, and that's hard, difficult. But okay, that's our job. But then again, we are also in this dirty world of jeans where the photo shoot has to be perfect, the delivery has to be fantastic, the fit of the jeans must be fantastic. You know, all those things together make it a very difficult job we have.
All right, yeah.
So it's going to be 2022 for us, I'm afraid.
No, I thank you for your inspirational answer towards especially that the transparency part. I think that's a very important topic as well, and that's a great initiative that you're taking.
Yeah, maybe I can add a little bit on that. There's luckily going to be now legislation. We were one of the first, of course, to think about extended producer responsibility, which is something nobody talked about 10 years ago. Luckily today, that's a topic. It's going to be legislated, I hope. So let's see if there's governmental push into the in the correct direction, which we really need, I think, all of us.
Yeah.
If I can add a little bit to what Bert said just
Yes.
now, I thought he raised a very excellent point that the focus of his company is not only on sustainability, it's also on delivering fantastic products with a great service. And I think that's a very valuable lesson for any circular company or sustainable company out there, that you should first try and make the best product that you possibly can, and then make it as sustainable as possible as well. If Bert's jeans wouldn't fit well with people wouldn't wear them, however sustainable they are.
Yeah, totally true. And that's an important lesson that I've learned. And of course we know it, but still your story can be as good as you want. But if your customers receive the jeans and they don't fit, it's not going to work. And of course, we also have to be an economic success. You know, our company, we have to sustain ourselves. We have to be there next year.
Yeah.
I spoke to somebody the other day and they said, "Oh, my jeans, that's nice. Do you still exist?" I was going, "Yeah, that's a nice remark. We still exist." And because we can cover our costs and we can pay our salaries and we can pay the rent and we can also invest in new developments. So, you know, it has to be also an economic sustainable thing, a company like ours. But
Maybe
I guess the other two agree on that.
If I can chip in some things. Last year we were talking during the World Circular Economy Forum with Tom Tsaki from well-known guy, super innovator, and he said it's very important to have both affordability but also convenience. So make it easy, the solutions, but also affordable. No, if you are way too expensive, then you will never reach the audience that we probably need. Absolutely. And the guy in the video from Dubai also talked about similar things, like also affordability he meant, and talking about living. So I think those are good things. Only sustainable is not enough, that's for sure.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, for sure. I think economic sustainability is as important as the impact, but that's the pathway circular economy also in principle offers, that you can make economic success along with creating the social impacts that are desired. Thank you so much for the input, Freek and Bert and Timo. Now, quickly moving on to Leah. Maybe you also want to answer the same question. What are your goals?
I think Bert has summarized this quite well. I only recently started working at Mud Jeans, so yeah, I think Bert has said that quite well.
But she's learning fast, Leah. So
yes, I'm trying.
Well, we wish you all the best. And now to Casper.
Yeah, so professional-wise, I mean, we've been working on some bigger projects last few years with big clients, but a lot of the results were postponed due to COVID. So this year, we really hope we can implement it. So we do a lot of work about recycling, but also nowadays about reuse and refill models. And there's some exciting stuff coming up. I can't really disclose yet what, but we'll definitely post it on our social media channels. So we're really looking forward to that. We're also growing as a company this year, probably. Yeah, on one hand, impact, but also on the other hand, tangible results. And you also asked, I think, from a personal point of view, right, as a goal.
Yes, yeah.
That's a tricky one. I mean, last year I became a father, and that really sort of puts you in a different light as a consumer, because you go on one hand for convenience, right? There's already so much stuff on your mind, and the other hand, there's so much, literally shit, and waste coming by. So that really sort of triggered a new perspective of being a consumer. So my personal goal is to sort of redefine this and see like how am I really doing as a consumer, not only to plastics but in general.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite insightful actually, that personal development in your life also spurred a change towards your consumer behavior. And now I would like to open the floor to our speakers, to our guests that have joined us. So the theme for today's session is the role of youth entrepreneurship in circular economy. From a business perspective, our idea is for you to ask our speakers around, questions around their journey as a circular entrepreneur, how they grew to be where they are today, their future ambitions and hopes for the younger generations, and so on. So please feel free to ask any of our guests questions. We would like that you raise your hand in the Zoom meeting so we can give you the floor to ask the question. Yes.
Maybe Freek can start off by showing us how it's done by asking some interesting but yet critical questions for our guest. Yeah.
Well, personally, I'm always most inspired by the personal stories of the entrepreneurs who just have this dream and say, "What the heck? I'm just going to realize it." And I'm always curious how that started. Is it out of, let's say, utter frustration with business as usual? Is it out of a life-shocking event or experience, or is it just about a dream that know that you can do it? So, what's the motivator of all our young companies and stars? How did they start it, and that can inspire also others? Or is it a well-planned, almost academic story with gap analysis in the market that you see? Hey, there must be a market here. I'm going to create it. How did it start?
Timo, if you could start off with this question.
Yeah,
yep.
I'm not the founder of Closing the Loop. And I joined last year. So for me, perhaps it's best if I share what I have seen happening so far within our company and why I think we've gotten to where we are. And there's just one answer: it's persistence. I mean, our founder, Joost, started with this crazy idea of recycling e-waste in countries where no one else was doing that. And he probably had some laughter when he first, in the audience, when he first mentioned the idea. And, but yeah, he stuck to it. He was persistent, and he wasn't afraid to change his business case halfway around when things weren't working out as much as they should. So really, yeah, if there's something I can learn from him, it's his persistence, and yeah, that has led us to be quite a mature company that we are right now.
Yeah, interesting question I very often get. And I cannot say that there's been a life-changing moment for me, but I've been now nearly 40 years in the garment industry, and I've seen it develop in a very strange way. I used to work with factories that were nice and clean. People would work there very hard, but earn a good living. And you would make garments to protect yourself, to look good and of high quality. And during my lifetime, I've seen it change into this throwaway, low quality rubbish that we're making today. And then also in countries where there seems to be no laws on everything, made by people that are treated like slaves. And one day I said, okay, I was able to sell a company. I had some money in front of me, and I thought, okay, let's try to do this better. Let's start with the biggest item, the jeans. If I could make a change there, then it might be impactful. So that's where we started, without any thought, but just thinking, let's do it better, let's do it circular. Let's show the world that you can make a pair of jeans without using child labor and horrible chemicals and things like that. So that's what we're doing now for the last 10 years. And like you say, Timo, I've met Joost in the beginning. We were together in the Impact Hub investment ready program 10 years ago, I think, 9 years ago. And it's the same story for us. It's about persistence. We had a lot of difficulties, but we kept going. We're still here.
Yeah, some people might confuse persistence with stubbornness, but I think persistence is the right word.
For me, it's stubbornness, in my case, but okay. I'll take persistence. Anybody else? Casper, did you start the company?
Yeah, and I think it started at Lowlands Festival 2012. So
Okay.
a group like me and a group of friends, we were always quite interested in sustainability during our studies. So most of us studied industrial design engineering in Delft, and we didn't see ourselves design the next coffee machine at Philips or something. So already during our studies, we had a little studio where we were experimenting with materials, not necessarily plastic, but all kind of stuff. And at some point, there was this open call for Lowlands Festival to do something innovative with plastic on the festival. And not like inventing a recycling machine, but more like how can we get this story to the festival goers to become more sustainable and recycle in the end more. And in 2012, 3D printing was really upcoming. So we thought, how cool would it be if we can transform plastic waste from the Lowlands Festival into a new product on the spot. Simple idea, but making such a machine was quite a hassle, because all this like machines that were necessary for that, so the shredding and extrusion and all those machines weren't existing. So we had to make it actually all by ourselves. And now we also informed professors and other people in the industry, like, is this possible? Most of them said no. So I think that ties into being stubborn or persistent, because he said, I mean, it must be possible. It's, you know, you can remelt the plastic, so why couldn't it be possible to reuse it in a 3D printer? So what we in the end did, we sort of downscaled a big recycling machine into a mini recycling machine for on the festival, where people themselves could do the whole process. So have this sort of steps, washing and grinding, melting a plastic wire of it, and the plastic wire could directly go into a 3D printer, which would make a new product out of it. And that sort of kickstart the Better Future Factory. And the funny thing is, like, this installation is called Perpetual Plastic. We're still doing that 3-4 times a month over the whole world. And that's actually also the start of our company. So we were basically doing kind of events with this machine, making new contacts, growing our network at the same time, also making a bit of an income with doing these workshops. And that evolved over time into the design engineering studio that we have nowadays, Better Future Factory. Yeah, almost like a band.
Wow, really.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Really inspirational.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to address this question that is in the chat from Sergio. He asks, what advices would you give to young generations that are starting off in the circular economy ecosystem? How to navigate it and get to know where to focus its efforts in the value chain.
Maybe I can.
Okay. Yes, please.
I can start giving somewhat of an answer. Of course, it's no easy question, but I think what I see is whether it's circular economy or whether it's sustainability, you can make an impact in any job you have. Like, you don't have to be the circular economy lead or the circular economy professional within a company to work on these topics. Like, for example, Closing the Loop works together with a lot of IT procurement professionals, and those people can really make a big difference when it comes to buying more circular or buying more sustainable stuff. If an IT manager in our context says, I want to buy more sustainable tech, that's a huge differentiator that kickstarts the circular economy within a company. Every single professional within an organization has the potential superpower to make the organization more sustainable. You don't have to be particularly a circular economy professional. One thing I do see with people graduating nowadays is that sometimes when they've studied a lot about circular economy or a lot about sustainability, they think that working in these areas means it's sort of the same as writing reports. And I try to promote the fact that you can be very busy with the circular economy by doing practical work, by being making it as pragmatic as possible, making it tangible, and not talking too much about what will happen in 2050, because we have no idea what will happen in 2050, but making circular economy about what is happening now and what you can do now, or maybe in the coming couple of years. And I think that is more valuable than talking about what will happen in 2050. But perhaps that's a dangerous stance to take in circular economy fields, but that's how we Closing Loop see it. And that's also the way our company was designed.
Thanks, Timo.
Thank you, Timo. Yeah, thank you. Bert, Casper, or Leah, if you would like to add on, please do so. Yep.
I completely agree. I mean, I think also as a design studio, we also have a workshop behind me. Without experimentation and really prototyping and testing, you can't move forward in this field, because you can think a lot about circularity and so on, but in the end you have to validate it in some way. And I think that's I mean, you need a combination in the end, of course, because we do use these models to also understand the things that we are doing, of course. It's following from Meer. But it's I think you have to find a combination in the pragmatic approach and also understanding why you're doing this in the bigger picture.
Thanks, Casper. And Bert, do you want to add on to it? Bert or Leah?
Yeah, maybe I can show some slides of what's happening in the textile industry. Just some numbers. Maybe that's interesting. Would that be?
Yes, I think it's possible. Michelle, can you give him access to share his screen? Is that possible?
Because the numbers
yes,
tell a lot, I think. It's impressive. If you see the numbers, then you understand better, I think. It's also depressing, but okay.
Yeah,
Leah, maybe you can.
No, I think now you have access, Bert. I just saw a message on my screen that Bert.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So, can you see this?
Yes.
So, to give you some information, 2 billion pairs of jeans are sold every year. That should be more now. There's a lot of insecticides used for the cotton. It all goes wrong there. The fashion industry accounts for 10% of the CO2 emission worldwide. And as we speak, a garbage truck full of textiles being trashed every second somewhere in the world, and only 1% is being recycled. So yeah, 7,000 liters of water for a pair of jeans. The consumption has increased by 60% the last 15 years. I'm still flabbergasted when I see that. I cannot believe it. These are numbers that we get from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and 92 million tons of trash are discharged by the fashion industry. So that's all for now, folks. Yeah, what can I say? What can I add to this?
Yeah, thank you, Bert, for sharing this. Oh, yeah,
I think those numbers are incredibly depressing, and as Bert probably realizes, these numbers are similarly depressing in e-waste figures. But from my perspective, they resonate really well with me, and as I consider myself quite a responsible and sustainable person, I'm not sure if talking about these numbers is necessarily the way to talk to the potential clients of Mudjeans, and I'm quite curious how you look at that, Bert, because like with our solution of sustainable IT products, sustainable jeans are potentially for everyone, and they should be for everyone. So we should look at ways to make them attractive for everyone, and by speaking too much about the negative sides of the jeans industry, we might scare people off. And I know it's a difficult subject within yeah, if you want to talk about the negative side effects of the industry, but I'm just curious how Mudgeons looks at that.
True, you're definitely right, and this is also what we have written down in our brand book, and this is not what we want to glow. We always talk about positive activism. We want to give solutions to our customers, or hopefully customers. So you're definitely right. This is not the way to go, but it's the first part to start getting people aware, and then of course we bring the story. But there is a solution. Start thinking circular. Put circular design ahead, and make everything transparent. So yes, you're definitely. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Thank you,
so
Bert,
much.
for the nice answer, and thank you, Timo, for also questioning.
Well, maybe Leah can add on this, because she just started at our company and she wanted to work for our company. So why did you want to work for our company, Leah?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, definitely those numbers that you just showed played a role in this, because yeah, I recently finished my master's in sustainability science, and this is where I kind of found out more about the details of the problems that exist across industries, but also I focused on the fashion industry in this, and these numbers were definitely played a big part for me why I wanted to be part of the solution. And Mudgeons was inspiring not because of these negative numbers that they communicate, but also because of these really great positive numbers that they have. So 93% of water is saved with a pair of Mudgeons, 74% CO2. So these were really, for me, quite impressive figures, where I thought I want to be a part of this solution.
Well, thank you, Leah. Coincidentally, this was sort of related to one of our questions that we had later, which was I wanted to ask you guys that what kind of campaigns do you personally, and also from your company's perspective, feel are relevant to raise awareness for the young generation to shift towards the use of sustainable and circular products? And I think we got a bit of an answer, but if you feel like adding something to this question, maybe Casper or Timo, Bert, and Leah, please feel free to welcome. I just thought that since it's related, I'm gonna ask you right here. So do you feel like adding something, Casper, to this question of campaign and marketing?
Uday, if you want, I can share some of the experiences. I've seen lots of, let's say, circular startups pass by, or startups wannabe, and I sometimes think it's a lot about a dream in the beginning, but you really have to do your homework. No, you really have to approach it with your business canvas. You do your homework. What are you going to address? How am I going to earn money and do good for society? So do your homework. What's your market? Who are you going to compete with? What's your what makes your product different? Recently, we had lots of discussions about something in the field of plastics, like startups for chemical recycling. But basically, they only looking at the end side of the market. I can make a product, let's say, with chemical recycling, which is a pure quality product for plastics. But they forget how they are going to get to the product. What's their input material? And they're all trying to get to the same material, which is not there in the market, at least not at the price that they want. So you really have to think how you're going to do that. And in the past, doing a good business was also intellectual property. I think in circular economy, it's let's say it's not about copyright; it's right to copy. And your true distinguishing factor can maybe be your collaborations, your partnerships. Because circular economy is, let's say, closing the loop. So if you already manage to combine 2 or 3, 4 actors in the loop, then actually you let's say you can make a difference. And there are lots of startups. There are not so many scale-ups. So it's very important to think how in the future you can also scale up to have a true, let's say, societal impact, if you want. And then maybe you have to see who would be your ideal partner there. Do you want to team up like with a bigger name, a Unilever, or just not on purpose? Not so. Those are some things you have to think very carefully for. And there's lots of questions on barriers. Lots of people always say, the regulation is not right, but Then again, did Elon Musk wait for the American president to make regulation for electric cars? No, he did not. If you have a good business model, regulation has to follow. So let's say be persistent, be stubborn, and if you think there's really a market, you create a market, and the rest will follow. Things like culture awareness, I think we're still struggling there to create the right conditions for the markets. There's still things about remanufacturing. We lost the skill sets. We have to work on getting the right people who can do the job as well. And typically in the Netherlands, the skill set still has a price tag which is very high. So we have to work on a shift from, let's say, from tax on people to a tax on resources, but those are slow processes. So you need to have some patience in which environment your business model can work. But just some ideas, don't think just of the Netherlands, just think also beyond. We have Protex in the Netherlands, which is in the field of agri-food. Let's say, they grow insects, they harvest the insects, and they have, let's say, proteins. Protex is a big name, but in South Africa, it exists already for 10 years and is 10 times bigger.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can go faster in other environments as well. Then again, talking too much, back to you.
No, thank you, Craig.
Thank you
very much.
You shared a lot of practical, I think, tools as well there for young entrepreneurs to think about when they're starting out and along their journeys along their journeys of circular entrepreneurship and creating.
Sorry, I would like to address one of the questions that was in the chat before we move on. I think, Craig, you already answered a little bit about it, but Nicole asks, what are the challenges for young entrepreneurs to start in circular economy? Casper, I'm wondering if you could answer this interesting question.
Well, it ties in a bit with what's been said before. I mean, in the end, if you're a sustainable company, I mean, yeah, it's nice, but you also have to be a commercial company and make a profit. And that's what we also see with a lot of people, for example, interns that come by that are a bit of on the dreamy side. I don't want to say tree huggers, but sometimes they're a bit, I don't want to say disappointed, but that's where quite pragmatic. I mean, we as people in our company still eat meat, for example. Sometimes they're super surprised. I thought you were all for sustainability, and so. In the end, it's also, I think, being pragmatic. Making money is in the end that's how you survive as a company, and sometimes that can you have to make tough decisions for that as well. And also, for example, which companies do you work, which companies you don't work, how approachable are you? Because we get a lot of requests, can I come by to visit your company to see the stuff that you do, but there are only just so many hours in a week, so. If we had to do all the tours that with all the inquiries that we get, we would do full-time company visits. So it's also finding kind of a balance in that if as a company. And I think that's a special challenge with this sort of sustainable focused companies. And probably also Timo and Bert recognize this kind of approaches. Sometimes also even like that the people are a bit offended that they can't come by because we are a sustainable focused company. So why are you not opening your doors?
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective on the challenge also that you face and the decisions that you need to make. Thank you, Casper. Would anybody else like to add on to what just Casper has shared with us? No.
I think nowadays you can get, if you want to be a circular entrepreneur, you can get a lot of support. Maybe also through Holland Circular Hotspot, of course. My advice would just be to find people that can advise you, because if you have a good idea, there's definitely people that are willing to share knowledge, share experience, share their networks. Just don't hesitate to go out there. If the idea is right, you can make it work.
Oh, thank you, Timo. Okay, so we also have another question from one of our audience members. So Ruben asks that what are the key barriers that stop companies now to hold ownership till the end of life of their products? And what still needs to happen for mud jeans or clients of closing the loop? So maybe Timo, You can.
Happy to answer now. The IT industry is a bit hard. So let's say let's take the example of the mobile phone. What happens to a mobile phone? A company buys new devices. I'd say you can also buy refurbished devices, but most companies want to buy new devices, and because the main task of their IT and their procurement departments are to get them the best devices that they possibly can to make sure people can do their jobs with them. Now they will use this device for 2, maybe 3 years. After these 3 years, they consider the device not good enough for them anymore. So what the industry could do is making sure that devices can last longer. Now, luckily there are companies working on that, but it's no easy task. So what usually happens after this 2 to 3 years, the company sells the devices to a company that is interested in buying them. And this company will look at the devices and say, okay, this device is broken, it needs to be recycled, and it will be recycled right away. But most of the devices are in pretty okay condition after 2 to 3 years. So then they get a new life, either within Europe or outside Europe, depending on the condition. So in that, from that moment, the original company that bought the devices sort of loses sight of what happens with the device. And that's maybe an issue because you want to, well, as Ruben says, you want to hold ownership. But it's also great because that way we can make sure these devices have a longer life. And if there's more value in it for someone else outside of the original company, I think that's also fine. Our approach is more towards the original buyer of the device that actually puts the device on the market in the first place. And we try to make them see the value of compensating for the recycling of that device right from the start. So that at least the device did not contribute to more e-waste on the world.
Thank you so much, Timo, for answering that question and interesting perspectives there. Bert, maybe you also want to address this for mud jeans?
Second. For us, it's a different story because we always get the comments that, of course, a pair of jeans you want to own because you wear it, it becomes part of your shape and your body. So it's a difficult story to explain that that ownership does not mean that you need to have it. What we find important, that's why we started Lease Jeans, that we think that the raw material is important. So we value the raw material in a pair of jeans and we would like to have it back. So it's a little bit different. It's difficult to understand for people. But I always say, like, if Amsterdam would become our source of raw material, of cotton, that would be nice. There's so much trash that we can reuse. So that's where our story is a little bit difficult to explain when you want to lease a pair of jeans. And of course, you know, if people do that, they do understand the circular economy. They do understand that you have to get old stuff back to start something new, which is interesting. So it took us 10 years now, but more and more people start to understand that cotton can be reused and we would like to have it back. So yeah, that's what we're working on.
Thank you. Thank you, Bert. Thank you for sharing the answer. We have one more question from Ruben, and he says, how can purchase cycles be broken up to focus more on the longevity of products and not focused on buying a new one every season / model? Could resale secondhand market have a key role in this? Does anyone want to address this?
Yeah, it sort of adds on what I mentioned earlier on the way the reuse is designed in sort of the IT system or in the mobile phone industry. You know, these devices, they have a large value still in them after a couple of years, so they will be resold just because there's enough value in them. What we see, for example, in African markets is you know, in these African markets, labor is somewhat cheaper than here, so people can spend more time on repairing stuff, and that also means they're much better at, for example, repairing phones. So there you can see that lifetime expense even more. Yeah, I'd be interested in finding out how Casper answers this from more a design approach, because I guess that's more his line of work.
Yeah, on one hand, I think it ties into what Freek said, like if you talk about refurbishment or taking products apart, you need for now manual labor. So that also means that the shift from a tax perspective, right? So lowering tax on labor and a higher tax on materials. I think that would really speed up this movement. For us as a design agency, it's really custom to which specific product or service actually how we go about ownership or circularity. I think if you talk about ownership, I think the first thing you should get rid of is the term waste, because no one wants to own waste. They want to own materials and feedstock. So that's what we also sort of try to educate our customers, that they should really start thinking from a perspective how to get this material back instead of thinking in terms of waste. And that already, I think, is sort of a change in behavior of our clients, and that also makes them think in a bigger picture, right? So what happens afterwards, and then who are involved in this whole cycle. But to be honest, like most of the projects that we do now with, for example, disassembling, we have one client that we disassemble products for here in Europe. It can only be now with the economic model that we do it with social workplaces. So if we really want to make this successful in Europe and have this kind of models here, we should really do something about this, make it a more profitable business, taking things apart, refurbish things, because it just needs this manual labor. We don't have robots yet that can all do it for us.
Yeah, thank you, Casper. Yeah, we indeed do not have robots yet. So the capacity building, you're referring to the capacity building in the labor market as well for remanufacturing and repurposing. And I think the role of designers also come in maybe for the repurposing. But yes.
Yeah, definitely. There's a big role for design, of course, and it's the design for disassembly, I think, because that's where it goes wrong a lot of the times. For example, with packaging, you have all this multi-layer packaging that can never be disassembled for recycling. It's a simple example, but also more elaborate products, as with e-waste, but also with clothing. There, so many times they're so difficult to get sorted into the different materials again. So I think there's a huge role for designers and engineers to take their role in that and really redesign things in a way that we can harvest materials again from.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree with your point of view, and I think Timo would also say especially in the mobile phone sector, I was really interested into the concept of modularity, and I am not sure why companies that try to come up with such solutions can't scale up. Maybe a little bit of reflection on that, Timo?
I also don't see why they can't scale up. I mean, if you look at Fairphone from where because they sort of, I don't think they're the only mobile phone company in the world anymore that tries to implement modularity, but they are definitely the front runner, I think.
Yeah.
And from what I understand is that last year I think they published this, that they are now a profit company, so they have made a profit last year. So I think that's a huge success. They also make all of their phones e-waste neutral, which we think is a fantastic way forward. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't scale. I just think perhaps the timing wasn't right in the past, and now it is. And well, maybe you noticed, but I'm wearing Jared Street's headphones, which are also modularly designed. So whenever something's broken, I can just send the part to them and they'll replace it and they'll try to repair the item that was broken. So there's more and more companies doing that. And yeah, for me, I think there's no reason why they won't scale. If they offer the products that are just as good or better than traditional mobile phones or traditional headsets, then there's no reason why they wouldn't scale.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, and I do agree that they should scale up. There was this one little company called Puzzle Phone. They were trying to come up with a completely modular phone. I think they were based in Finland, if I'm not wrong. But the pushback, this was also one of the questions that me and Kate wanted to ask you, like the pushback from the larger corporations, that are still based on the concept of planned obsolescence. They are shortening their lifespans of products deliberately, pushing more and more mass consumption. How can a company battle against that? Like a startup company, but I guess it's in time. But just your perspective.
Yeah, that's a really difficult question to answer, but also because we're not a manufacturing
yes, okay.
A company, and we really try to team up with the tech industry. So we also because they see more and more the value of bringing more sustainable products and services to their clients. So teaming up with the tech industry is for us a no-brainer, and at this moment they want to do that. Okay, not every single one of them, but a lot of them do. Yeah, so I don't think it's too much about competing with these parties. It's more about collaborating with them.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. We have one more question from the audience. Maybe we will ask this, and then I think looking at the time, we also need to wrap up. Gabriela asks, what about the young people? Are they your target group? Are your strategies difficult to reach them? I would like to open this to, maybe Bert wants to answer.
Okay. Yeah, we call our audience the cultural creative. And for us, it's people that are looking for searching for meaning in work and life. They're mostly well-informed of what's happening in the world. They care about sustainability and climate. They are connected to nature. They are critical citizens. Mostly they live healthy and active lifestyles, yoga and things like that. And they're open-minded for and like new experiences. I don't think there's an age connected to that. We always say that we have customers from 8 till 88. But as a company, I learned to understand that you have to focus on a certain group to try to persuade people to wear your jeans. So we're struggling because, we don't know. I think in my eyes, but my marketing manager doesn't always agree, and Leah is also not going to agree, but I think the 35-year-olds with 2 kids and well-informed and educated is my target group. But Leah will tell you that it's the 18-year-old. No, right, Leah? Hang in here.
Well, yeah, I would probably disagree. Well, I do think that it's across all ages, but I disagree in the sense that I think looking at my generation, people are really very aware of the issues. Let's take our example of the fashion industry. And
but don't you live in a bubble?
That's another good point. I do live in a bubble, and it's hard to say whether everybody is this aware, but I think definitely, I mean, you can see it even in the fast fashion brands now. All of them market with sustainability claims, and especially those brands, or not especially, but definitely also those brands that focus on the younger generation. So you can see it in all of these brands that they make these claims, and that I think clearly shows that people are interested in this. And even those that are maybe not actively looking for the most sustainable brand, if they see 2 products and one makes a sustainability claim and it's otherwise quite similar, I think everybody would always go for the more sustainable product because it just makes you feel good about your choice.
And what we have also seen over the years, so we always try to understand why the client wants to innovate and make the product more sustainable. On the one hand, of course, it's a reaction to the consumer, but the other hand, what we've also seen is that to attract talent nowadays as a company, you have to be active in sustainability. Otherwise, you don't get top quality talent. So that's, I think, another side of the story. If as a company, if you want to have the best people working for you, and maybe that's also why Bert hired Leah, most probably. you have to be on the top of your game, and you have to be a front runner on sustainability. Otherwise, you're going to miss talent.
That's true, but I can also tell you the story of the other end of this. Is that we as a company, we always said this, that we attract talented people, and we're very happy to have Leah in our team, and we have a very strong team with young talented people. But we also become now the target of becoming, and that's also good, bigger companies pulling away talented people, having 2 or 3 years experience in our company, which is good. We just had one person leaving our company to a bigger one, and I hope that she can change the world there. So that's also something interesting to see happening now. But also, we feel quite honored that these huge companies look at us and get our stuff. What can you say?
Yes.
On that
Thank
bombshell.
Thank you, Bert. Thank you for answering. And I would like to give my floor, give the floor to my colleague Keita now, for moving along.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're a little bit over the time, as I think this session was until 5:30. So thank you very much for your time and also the extension. I was glad to hear so many inspiring stories, and wanted to ask more questions with all the answers coming in. Some unexpected questions, and of course made me realize that all these sustainable initiatives and all these companies are of course companies, and there are you have to do business, and that's the priority. And sustainability also of course comes into play, but maybe some people might be confused that you're all for sustainability, but of course you can't just survive if you're only doing sustainable initiatives. And I think it was very inspiring to hear from you all today. I think this session will be it's recorded, and it will be available soon, and we will be happy to share this the link to all of you once it is available for you to look back. And yeah, I would like to thank the guests, and also thank the participants for the interesting questions, and hope you all have a pleasant evening. And yeah, thank you very much.
We had so many more questions to ask you, but unfortunately we're out of time. We had some other inspiring questions to get your perspective on, but maybe another time. Thank you so much for joining us again.